Hello and welcome to I Like Art, the podcast. My name is Sara Glupker and I'm your host. And I am thrilled to introduce you to an amazing contemporary artist. Her name is Charuka Arora. She's way over on the other side of the world in India and different time of day and everything. She's here ready to talk to us about all the things that she's up to. Hi, Charuka. How are you today?
Hi, Sarah. So nice to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm
Oh,
good. How are you?
I'm great. This is so much fun. I'm already having the best time ever. I know you a little bit, quite a bit, I'd say. I got to know
Yeah,
you through the Art Queens. And then
yeah,
recently we were in a breakout group, pep
yeah,
rally group with Celine Gabrielle. And I got to
yeah.
know you even more. And I feel like this is just a chat between two friends, and I can't wait
Absolutely.
to share all the things with you. Okay, so when I will have an introduction already recorded and played before this interview, and I encourage my listeners to pause and to stop and look at your artwork. So hopefully everybody has looked
Uh,
at your artwork, but we're just going to talk about it some more and the path that led you to where you are today. Your story is amazing and I can't wait to share it. Okay, so you want to just jump right in?
okay. It's firstly, I want to say how strange this feels for me because I'm generally asking the questions. So answering is a little bit out of my own comfort zone, but um, I'm going to get over it, hopefully, in the
Oh,
process.
you're already doing great.
Okay, so my name is Charuka. I'm an artist based out of India. Um, okay, I am also a creative entrepreneur. I am a podcaster and I run a global platform for women creatives, which is called Arts to Hearts Project. Yeah, so about my practice as an artist in the form of my own practice, my work is very heavily influenced by my own experience as a woman, also as someone who's grown up in a small town, intimately with the rich culture, craft, and art of India. And a lot of my work today reflects back with on the time that I've spent with my mother. And I I am I am a creative solely because of her influence on me, and I think her genes in me. And I think ever since I've lost her, it's become even more a way for me to find my roots back into who I am and just another way to connect. My work is also like it's like I like to call it like a mixture between textiles, embroideries. It's like holding onto a piece of Indian textile, but it's actually a painting. It's something that will last you longer. It may feel different, and you can hang it on a wall or like something. Someday I will maybe come back to textiles, but for now I do embellished paintings, and I love textures and prints. And the whole theme of what I do, especially with Arts to Hearts and my own practice, is I feel like empowering and accentuating who we are as women.
Mhm.
So my whole art practice is also about being a Maharani and just as an Indian woman we see like the royal courts, and I always when I was young I would imagine myself as like a princess, which is what we call in India like a Maharani. Like I would have these royal dresses and these courtrooms and all of that, but essentially a Maharani is someone who's very fearless and fierce and empowering, and even there it's feminine but it's a very powerful term.
Mm.
And even with Arts to Hearts, my own goal is like every day that I always say on the podcast also, like there's nothing better than women and creative. Like women creatives are my favorite thing in the world.
Mhm.
And I just feel like I have dealt a lot in my own career, and I feel like I just want to keep supporting. And it's also from a place of self-service, because I know when I do that it also helps me.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a little bit about
Mhm. Okay, there's a lot there. First of all, I want to talk about your work some more. but I want to, I
Okay.
want to go back in time a little bit. And I'm really interested in what young Charuka was like. Like, what were you like when you were a kid?
I
Were
think
you,
anything I can remember about my childhood, I'm right now sitting in my parents' house in this room. So I moved away when I was 18 from my parents' house, and I lived 10 years away. And
mm-hmm,
in the past 2 years since the pandemic, I came back.
mm,
Apparently, I came back to the right now. I'm living in the same room I grew up into after we moved our house. So I've been living here in this room. I lived here for a couple of years. I grew up mostly here, and anything and everything I can remember about my own childhood was I'm a big time animal lover. I love animals, and dogs have been my biggest companion.
mm-hmm,
So I still remember I used to have this lower, like we used to have these lower beds, and I would have like a lower bed on the floor, and I had like a huge cupboard. I used to have a couple of cupboards, and one was entirely dedicated to my craft supplies and glitters, and I would always love glitters, and I would
glitter.
all
Yeah.
apparently and apparently, connecting the dots, like a lot of my work has pearls today. But I mean, I never thought it, they just happened to come over. But even before, like now, when I'm talking about it, like I used to have a lot of pearls and shells and like a lot of things like that, and textiles, and like because my mom was a fashion lover, she would like collect a lot. She was a hoarder. So she would collect a lot of things. So I would
Mm-hmm.
just spend hours and hours with my dog and just be in the room, and it used to be at such an extent that my mom would like freak out, and she would like yell, and she would be like, I mean, I would lose contact with people at all. Like I mean, I used to be like, I was used to be very shy, and I had a hard time fitting into places, and I felt very safe being into my own zone. So I would always create, like always. That was my way of just growing up, I feel like now
Mm-hmm.
today.
I feel like young Charuka and young Sarah are like the same person
Oh, I
because,
think a lot of us feel that way, right?
yeah. And there's something to be said about um, thinking of, and so I have people who are professional artists and also people who simply like art. There's something to be said about taking a moment and looking back at your childhood and thinking about what you liked to do when you were a kid and then doing those things as an adult. And there's something
Yeah.
really magical, and it's a way of connecting with who you are at your core. And it's like that inner child that just needs to play and do, and the beads and the glitter, and because you use those things in your work today. And that's
Yeah. And it sounds
amazing.
insane because,
You
and
know?
I'll be very honest, because a lot of time, you know, I would wake up someday, or like, I don't know, because there's this voice in your head that keeps coming back, and it'll be like, oh my god, am I serious? Do I think I'm going to make a life for myself that's going to support me, my family, or things by drawing, or like
Mm-hmm.
throwing glitter, or like
Mm-hmm.
having embellishments, or talking to people? Is that, I mean, sometimes I'm thinking, how insane am I thinking, is that I'm but that's how I'm doing it. I'm doing it. But it's so hard to believe, especially I grew up in a very different environment, as in India is still a very um, close perspective, especially in the sense of art.
Mm-hmm.
And I never knew an artist in my life for quite a while. And honestly, um, I'd never gone to a museum, I'd never seen a gallery, none of that, none of that. And that's what I really like about my work today, because um, when where my work is right now, it truly celebrates the kind of art and craft I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it just reminds me of those times of that really stays close to me, because I never went, I was not creative, or never went into the arts seeing how it is today. I saw a
Mm-hmm.
very different side. I would like, in summers, I saw my mom and my grandmom used to live together. Like, so I remember she would teach me how to knit.
Mm-hmm.
And then very something very popular in India is like so there's something called suits. I don't know a lot of people if they're familiar or not. Like, there are saris and salwar
Mm-hmm.
kameez, and these are just Indian attires of what they call. And we were a typical middle class family. And then my mom was a big time fashion lover. Like, I don't think, I mean, she would probably get something made every day and or make herself or something. Like, she was so obsessed. So she would like, I was very young. I was the youngest of my siblings, and we're three siblings.
Hmm.
So,
Me too.
oh, really?
Hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I would, accompany her. And I was all, for some reason, I was always fascinated with what she was doing. Always, always. She did like a small course when I was probably 6, 7. And it was for a couple of months. She was doing like this fashion. She was always interested in clothes. So she wanted to do something in, like, she wanted to open like a boutique or something. So she did like a course. And I remember I was so young. She would stay up the night after feeding us, and then she would do her illustrations, and I would just sit and stare at her. I still have her books. I keep them very close to me.
Oh,
So I would go
wow.
with her in alleys, and then we would thrift
Hmm.
materials and clothes and embroideries, and then we would have this another tailor who just sits by on the road somewhere, and he would come home, or we would go to him, and then we would piece together things. Okay, this is where, and this is, when I'm so glad that we're doing this, because often I don't get a chance to talk about it and reflect. But
Hmm.
even when today, when I actually embellish my work, I feel like I'm reliving the time when I would be with my mom and we would piece together um, embellishments and see what fits where on a fabric. And that's how I remember my entire childhood. I have spent either in my room or thinking and seeing clothes with her or buying stuff with her. That are completely fashion or embellishments and all of this driven.
Oh my gosh. So that is beautiful. That is so beautiful. And I can relate in a way. So connecting the activity to the person is a very amazing way to honor that person and to also, yeah, just be present
And
with them.
I think it's going to be a year of forgoing, and some things you don't realize truly before it happens. And I never thought about my practice or my work in this manner before we lost her. But now I remember, like, now I relate to, one moment, my dog's going to, now I relate to, now I feel like, yeah, why is this so important to me? And i I swear, every time I am embellishing something, which is one of my favorite things to do, I am thinking of her, because it's um it feels like I'm that little girl back again, who's like who's like thinking about, oh, how this is going to come together.
Oh my gosh. Do you ever feel, I don't know how you feel about this, but I've lost people in my life too. And there's certain activities or things, for instance, my garden. So I have this like very amateur flower garden. But when I'm in my garden, I feel it's almost like the presence of that person, or you can
Yeah.
feel, or you can even think, man, as you're making your work, as somebody who supported you, you can feel their sense of pride in you. And that's just it's an incredible feeling.
Yeah.
And I do
Absolutely.
believe that.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. She was she always wanted to live her creative dreams through me.
Mm,
And I was although I feel like creative, I never had creative artist or anything like that in my family ever. But I feel like my family was creative in one or the other ways. And though I think, I just feel like I truly believe we're all creative at core, all of
oh
us,
yeah,
no matter,
100%.
where
I
you
talk
come.
about that like, yes, we're all artists. Let's
It's
just admit
just
it.
how we express and sometimes how we relate and interpret that. Currently in my life, I feel like entrepreneurship and being a creative are very similar. I've been an entrepreneur for a very long time. I've been a creator for a very long time. And I feel like now, getting very serious in both these journeys, there's so much. And my partner, my boyfriend, he's also an entrepreneur, and he's not a creative, like, I mean, like, in the literal sense, let's say. But we both really relate to each other because we experience the same thing, because at the end of the day, we're both creating something.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like these influences start shaping our way we approach things, I think.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That's your question.
You and I,
What?
same feeling, same feelings. This is a perfect
Yeah.
segue. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah.
This is the perfect segue into talking about your community. And okay, so you and I feel very connected to everything you're doing here. And it's so nice to be in the same room as somebody who is what we consider multi-passionate, creative person. Okay, so Charuka, you're truly an artist at your core. It's been who you've always been an artist, right? Was there a day when you realized, I don't know if I want to make art and end the sentence there? Was there a moment when you realized I want to do more? And then you're almost kind of like, oh my gosh, do I really need to take on more? But there's more, there's something more. And you've created your art practice, but then there's more. So now we're here to talk about the Arts to Hearts project. And how did that evolve for you? Was it like one day you decided and then you just took off and ran with it? Or did it ruminate for a while and you think about it before you actually made the next steps?
Oh my God. This is such a roller coaster, and I don't even know how it's going to go forward. But you know, I also say this a lot of times. I truly feel myself more as a creative first than as an artist. And this could be completely my own way of interpreting things, because how I grew up and what I learned in this progress. Um, like, I felt like a lot of times seeing myself as an artist, I tapped myself into certain definitions. And for me, when even I was growing up, I was the creative child. I wasn't the artist child, or like the artist. I was the creative child. For me, even if I was making something, I would want to do it differently. If I was crafting or drawing, or like, I mean, anything, my brain works very differently, and I would create. And I think because, and I also believe, like, when you're creating, you're becoming very entrepreneurial, because your decision making goes faster and you become more independent. And these are very core values that you need as an entrepreneur. You need to be very proactive, you need to be daring and more fearless. And I think artists are all of that. To be an artist, it is a fearless path. It is a path we put ourselves out there every day, which is, I mean, it's not easy. It's
No.
absolutely not easy. So I I grew up in a business class family, and completely, like, I had no, like, so in India, you know how things work. Women would typically, I was in a small town. My parents, like, you study, and then you get married, and then you settle, and all of that. And I grew up seeing my mom had, like, really desires. Like, she always wanted to be something more than just being a wife, a mother, or something. And she had three children at a very young age, and I was the youngest. So by the time I was born, she was exhausted, tired, and she just didn't have enough time.
Mhm.
And that way, I also experienced a relationship with my mother where I felt like, um, she was so exhausted. I feel that today. I mean, I know I didn't feel that when I was younger, because I would feel bad or like disappointed. Now I feel more empathetic, and I feel like, I wish I could do better. But I saw her chasing her dreams, and she would really want to do something. And I just couldn't ever picture myself in that place. I felt like I saw her wanting to do something, and I just didn't like where she was in that phase. Like,
Mhm.
um, and I felt like I didn't want that for myself. So I was like, I want to do something more. I want to do something more. And then, because I was in a business class family, I saw my father was very entrepreneurial. Of course, he was an entrepreneur. He was like a traditional businessman, but we
Mhm.
always saw risk taking in our family. So I was like, I will do something. And because I was also, anyone who doesn't, I'm sure this everybody knows, India is a very patriarchal country. So
Mhm.
I knew that if I wanted to do anything in my life, I had to be on my own financially. So I was like, this was my goal. Okay, I need to figure this out for myself. I need to get out of the house. Need to be back on my feet. And as long as I have that in my hand, nobody can. And that was a very different time. Things have evolved a lot more today. But when I was young, I know I had no example. I had absolutely no example on how to do this, or even if I was like I remember people saying like, oh, you'll go and then ultimately whatever money you spent on a girl's education, uh, girls need to get married and make food. So that is the kind of expectation and ideology. So I was like, no, I'm going to prove something and I'm going to do something with it. So I was like, okay, I may. And at that point I was always creative. And I always assumed that we all, like, what I do is what I think everybody thinks in a similar way. And I had learning disability, and I didn't know that at that point.
Mm.
So I felt I was way inferior than anyone else, because I felt what I did wasn't extraordinary, or wasn't different, or necessary, or even a skill. It was
Mm.
just, I was just killing time in a lot of people's definition, let's say. And I felt like I was steps behind, because I couldn't grasp things the way other people, like me and my brother, were of the same age, so we grew up together. And I believe me, I was pushed literally through my high school to keep going forward. And I would cry because even though I was so hardworking, I just wouldn't make it. I didn't know, and my parents weren't so informed about learning disabilities and all of those things. So I was like, I always felt that I never had it in me. I never had enough in me. And that point, creativity always became my safe space. And that's something even today. It's my safe space that just makes me feel so comforted. And I
Mhm.
recognize that child in me. So I
Mhm.
was like, okay, no, I still need to do something. And I was like, so I did history honors, and like I did a lot of things.
Mhm.
And then I started a business. I In that process, I was like, creativity is even till that point, I was like, creativity, I as much as I value creative skills I've got today, they weren't as valued at that point.
Mhm.
And I was like, I need to do something. So I wanted to do something which will, be the more practical choice, and will make you a living. So I did a bunch of things, and I kept trying and trying, and it never worked out, and something never worked out. Then I after having a few degrees, I was like, I really need to go after a creative passion. So art, even at that point, I was going into my post graduation, like I never met an artist. I never knew there was arts or something and how it worked. Because in India, you wouldn't see, only in the aristocratic, like in a very upper section, in art is still becoming approachable. Even today, it's not approachable. So I never knew, like, my parents never bought a painting. We never had, like, we only had like so in India you'll see, like, deities or gods paintings and like prints and all of those, but people never invested, or
Mhm.
they never even considered as an investment. And honestly, there wasn't even enough disposable income for people to invest, um, or to buy prints. So
Mhm.
they would buy things like, god and like lords and all of that, and we would have those in the house, or some mass produce something like that.
Mhm.
So I decided I wanted to, because I saw my mom always being like the fashion. I thought I was meant to be a fashion designer. So that's
Really?
what I pursued. Oh, 100%. I was so determined. Like all my life, I was like, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. I fought, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I did try a couple of things. No, nothing's working out. And I want to do that. I fought with my father and everything, and I did that. I loved it, because after so many years, I felt like I was finally getting something creative to do. I did my postgrad. I went to Milan, came back, all of that happened. I was happy. I was working. And then I was like, I was very entrepreneurial, always. It's in my blood. And
Mhm.
in India, business is like, traditionally we're all very business oriented. So I always wanted to do something. I would always make something and sell. Like I would, when I was young, I would, teach children painting, and then
Mhm.
someday make cards and sell in school. And like, someday, like I would keep doing these things. And I was like, I want to start my own fashion business. I did that. I did that for 1.5 years. I love my process of creating and everything. And when I actually got into the real, working of a business, I realized I came to a major shock. And I was like, I can't do this, because for me, being a creative was way more prior than running, like, because when you run a fashion business, which is, producing garments, manufacturing garments, you start becoming a business person first and a creative second. So I had to take care of, sales and marketing and like hiring people and like, all of those things. And I got so lost that I decided to quit.
Mm.
With that experience, I was so afraid, and I always thought, like, I will never do this again, because that one thing you chase all your life, and when you finally do it, you realize, oh my god, this is not it. And I was like, I don't know where to go from here. So I was like, I kept on, I had to keep moving. So I started doing a couple of things here and there. I was doing branding, all of those things. And then I just started again. I always find comfort in the arts. So I leaned into the arts. And I was just navigating. I started figuring out, and I figured, okay, I want to be an artist. And then I started to understand, okay, how things work. I was mapping my way. I realized I was very lonely, and I was very lonely throughout my journey as a creative. I would have done so much better, like, because I had nobody to even ask anything. I felt so alone, so alone. And another thing was, I always felt as an outsider, because I came from a small town. I was living in a bigger city. I never felt enough love or comfort or belongingness ever. So I just always felt like an outsider. So I never felt the support I I always looked out for. Or uh, I was exhausted. There were so many burnout points, because you can only go so far when you're alone.
Mm-hmm.
And in that process, at that point, I felt like, I would never start another business, because I had realized, like, I at that point, when I closed my apparel business, I was like, I'm not a business person. This thought had come to my mind, because I felt like running a business would sacrifice my own creativity. Like, if I want to run a serious big business, or
Mm-hmm.
like a scalable or something like that. And I was very like, for a very long time, I was stuck with that thought. And I was like, I'm going to be an artist. And I had that dream. And, we all have that, oh, I will make work. And,
Yeah.
then the magic will happen. And when I got into it, and I was like, no, this is not happening. Then I was like, okay, I need to do marketing, and then this, and then I got into the flow. And when I got into the flow, I realized, oh my God, the thought that I'd been saying to myself I was just scared. I just wasn't doing the right thing. As an artist, I'd get to be in the creative business where I'm creating. If as long as I'm creating, I can survive. I can breathe. I stop
Mm-hmm.
breathing when I feel like I'm not creating something.
Mm-hmm.
So arts to hearts was something that happened on the side then. I was very alone. I felt like um, I didn't want to commit to a serious business, like another business. I still was taking my practice as a practice, and I was like, okay, this part is business. I'm still a creator. I'm still a creator. And I felt like I didn't want to commit to a business where I would have to hire people or do all of that. So I was like, I take this slowly, and I was like, okay, this is just a passion project. I just feel too alone, or like, I was like, so I didn't overcommit, and I just took one teeny tiny step at a time. I
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to start a podcast, and I was like, maybe I've just, and we just spoke about this. I had no goals for the podcast, in the sense like I want to make it a business, I want to run, um, like I want to monetize, or like any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm so alone, and I have so many things to say. I always felt I had so much to say, but I never had someone to listen. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this podcasting thing is something for me. At that point, in India, there were very few, like hardly anybody, like especially in the creative and women and like all of that. There were very few. I mean, a handful. I mean, I'm still one of the early people who are doing it. And I was like, this seems. And then eventually, when everything started to make sense together, that is when I realized, okay, I want to commit to this. And then I got to reframe my thought, like, that it's not that I can be a creative and I can run a serious business, as long as it aligns with who I am. I'm a creative first, and the business at what we do at Arts to Hearts, it is for creative people. I get to talk with creative women, which is again the best thing in the world. I get to see art every day. I get to meet creatives, and I get to, whatever I feel is missing for me, I get to create that. And
Mm-hmm.
that, I believe me, running Arts to Hearts makes me so fulfilled. I never thought I would get to say this. And it does get overwhelming for sure, which everything does. I mean, no matter what you do. But there's this I can feel this difference when I was running the fashion business versus what I'm doing today. I can feel the difference. You know that something is which comes very natural to you, and something that doesn't feel right. So it happened very organically. I could find the signs, but I was so afraid of my personal, like my past experiences, that I was like, okay, I'll go slowly and steadily.
Oh my goodness. This is so good. All right. Can you I have things to say, but can you explain to our audience exactly what the Arts to Hearts project is? So you have Charuka Arora, the artist, and you have your artwork
Yeah.
that you create, and then you created something called the Arts to Hearts project.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I take my practice in two ways. What I do as an artist, as a creator. So I feel I am a creator, and for me, I'm creating in the studio, and I'm creating Arts to Hearts project. I'm creating there, and I work with other projects, like, I do consultations and all of those things, which is everything, anything and everything I do. I know I am in the business of creating, and I feel like I that makes me very sound. Like it, I know that this something feels fair to me when I tell myself, and I feel more structured. Arts to Hearts for me is a very big part of my own practice as an artist, as a creator. I feel like it's been 10 years for me. I started my journey. Um, in those 10 years, I feel like something that I innately feel, even today, so many times, I feel like I have felt so much of isolation, aloofness, non belongingness. And just, I felt like for some reason, maybe it's just, I feel like it's a small town thing. I don't know. I mean, not putting it on
Mm-hmm.
anyone, but I feel like I have been always someone who's been very transparent. I mean, I have always craved for meaningful conversation, always in my life, and creative conversation. Since I didn't grow up around creative people, I never felt I was fitting in enough, and I would always be scared of saying. I felt like, oh my god, I mean, the stupid thing, like, or something like that, and I would like, because I felt I had so much in me, and I never had enough chance to share that. I I was like, when I saw online, I saw that things were happening, and I could create a place for myself, and I was like, why not? Why not? And in that process, I had also grown so much as an artist, and a lot of things that helped me were podcasts, people who actually put themselves out there, and books and communities. And I was like, if these people wouldn't have taken the effort of doing this work, I wouldn't have learned this much, and I wouldn't have moved forward. And I knew, for me to keep going forward, I needed to do this. And another thing was that, as a South Asian, as someone from India, I felt very less like represented. I never saw.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mostly the only South Asian in the room. I'm mostly the only Indian most of the places, and I felt like, even though I love to be a bigger part of the conversation, I also felt like I wanted to increase that representation. I know there are a million more small town girls in different parts of the world who may not have access, or who may feel or have felt where I have. And I really didn't want, I just don't want them to feel that.
Mm-hmm.
And even sometimes, like, podcasts help a lot, where even I can't, like, a conversation like you and me, we can't, someone whoever is listening to this may not be able to participate and tell us what they're thinking right now.
Mm-hmm.
But just listening to this mere conversation, I know the amount of relatability, and just not feeling alone, it helps.
Yeah.
And I decided, okay, I wanted to do this. So it began with Arts to Hearts project. Was like, I wanted to create this one place which is primarily Arts to Hearts. It means so much to me, because it's like, I just wanted to create a place where people didn't have to pretend. You
Mm-hmm.
could be honest. you could be yourself, because all my life I felt so judged, and like for just who I was. And I was like, I wanted just to create a space where people can be just 100% their honest, heartfelt, like whatever self they are. And I just wanted to create that creative heart. Like it's still for me, Arts to Hearts is that one place where creative people come and they can be themselves, and especially women. So this is a women's community. I host Arts to Hearts podcast, which is a podcast where I interview artists and creative entrepreneurs now, from all across the globe. We curate international shows. We're doing like a mastermind. The whole thing is, honestly, it's anything and everything that I hadn't had in my
Mm-hmm.
past. And as I keep moving forward, I am making mistakes and learnings, and I make sure that if there's something that worked for me, I handpick that and I try how I can do this for others. What's not worked for me, I filter those. And something like the mastermind, we just launched the Fearless Creative Mastermind. I know I've been a part of so many masterminds, and I never knew they existed, to be honest, for a very long time. And when I figured and I became a part of it, I was blown away, because I love the intimate, our group, like, when we did the
Mm-hmm.
pep rally, I love how a small group, how you can get intimate with people and build meaningful relationships, and
Mm-hmm.
actually feel support. And like we know each other and support each other. And I was like, this has worked for me. It's helped me. I That's how I made my podcast. That's how I launched the Ask to Hearts project. And I was like, I want to do this. I've
Mm-hmm.
experienced this. I am doing this continually. I want to create this for others.
Mm-hmm.
So Arts to Hearts is a podcast, a place we create opportunities, a creative women community, where we do anything and everything that's related to arts and creativity. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
It's perfect. I love it so much. Sharika, you are a huge shining light in this world. And the example that you set, I think about this with, for instance, there's a lot of conversation about Instagram, right? And what's the point? The algorithm hates me and nobody cares. But you just never know who's watching you. And you never know that by leading by example, you're showing people what's possible. And to create something that would have helped the younger version of yourself is so beautiful and generous of you. Because in a way, wouldn't it be easier to go to your studio every day and create and that's it? Even though you
and
probably wouldn't
no,
feel fulfilled.
honestly,
You-
it's even also from a place of self-service also. And I always say this because as much as I want to help others, I know the impact it gives to me.
Mhm,
I know that the amount of joy I get when I get to meet more creative women, the amount of joy I get when I remember the first time we hosted our virtual opening for the show, our online first international online show. And I saw the eyes, the gleam in the eyes of the participating artists from all across the world, and they shared about their work, and they said that, oh, how alone they were and how visible they feel because they're just in
mhm,
a show, because we were all in the pandemic. And it felt like it's like a flashback that comes to me, and I remember that feeling. I remember every little difference. I remember every little small act of kindness someone has done for me, and how it made me feel, or a difference it made me. And when I see that I can even do that, even a cent of it, it it's worth than any effort that I can do. So I sometimes I say it also is a place from self-service, because I want to feel that, and I want to I don't I mean I want to know as many in my lifetime. I want to meet as many creative women as I can. I
mhm.
and I just want to see them growing and shining, and then like the fierceness for me, like I want them to be true Maharanis more than anything else.
Mm, so good. Oh, your heart is in the right place. That's for sure. Oh my goodness. And I will say you are one of the most generous people that I've gotten to know on the internet or anywhere as far as artists. Um you are so giving. And you are so genuine, and providing these opportunities for other artists is amazing. And what a gift. What a gift you are. And I'm so thankful for you, Charuka. I just couldn't say enough
I'm
nice things
grateful
about
for
you.
you.
Okay. I have
I've
a few
learned it,
questions
not
for
on my
you.
own.
Uh,
Absolutely.
right. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we've talked about a lot of things, and I'm just looking at my list. Okay, I would love for you to talk about your Fearless Creative Mastermind that you've recently launched. What is that? How can people sign up? This episode's going to air at the end, before the end of February. So, tell me all about this new thing that you're doing.
Yeah. So this has been something that I've been working on, and that we've also worked with the pep rally. And
Mm-hmm.
even though I wasn't 100% of myself, but I give you guys the credit because I felt like I had that time. I was like, and every time we needed to show up for a meeting, I was like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
I need to make progress. I needed to
Yeah.
think about it. And it's happened. It's happened right in front of you. I've been thinking of creating a programming that like I said, I have experienced a lot of intimate groups myself, and I love masterminds. I love learning with other people and growing with other people. And something that I really love about it is that I couldn't find a lot of people in my own geography, like in my own community where I live. And
Mm-hmm.
when I started going online and international, I felt like my universe had become so vast and diverse because I could actually get to choose where I want to be versus I would have to, when I was just depending on my geography, I just had to pick up what I had, and that never worked for me. So I became a part of a lot of groups for women, and which were driven with different objectives, and they really helped me because I'm someone who loves to be in small groups. Big groups really feel intimidating for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I have gotten over so many things. So I always knew I wanted to create more programs as a section for arts to arts, where I can also for my own self work with people intimately and get to really know, like, I know the work we do makes a difference, but I really want to make a difference, like make a difference and in someone's life. I know that if I can even help someone take one step, for me, that's enough. That's a
Mm-hmm.
big difference. And I know that they can walk out and I'm going to keep clapping for them. And the other thing, why, so I knew mastermind or programming was one part of it that I wanted to create. With Fearless is something, oh my God, I feel like it's that one missing piece of the puzzle I was looking for so long. I kept on asking to myself, what is that I have to offer? What is that I have to offer? Something that feels, for me, something needs to come very natural. Like it needs to be natural. Otherwise, I can't survive. I can't put it, stretch it for too long.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I needed to find a way. I needed to find my voice where something was very natural to me. I didn't have to pretend, and I knew I was good at it. And for a very long time, that's why we didn't create a programming, because I couldn't pinpoint at one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then some, and I know I shared this with you in our group, and I was like, I came with another name, and it didn't feel right. I wasn't convinced. And then one day I was like, Fearless. And in the past 2 years, in the past decade, I have really, really, really worked myself through a lot of my own fears. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 18. I lost my mother in the pandemic. Since then, I feel like I know, I mean, I have come forward, but it was a very long journey. I mean, it's still a very long journey. And in that between, like I've lived on my own. I have done things that made me feel so afraid, but I also knew that I have moved forward in my life only because every time I looked those fears in the eye, and I kept on moving forward, and I kept on one tiny step at a time, one tiny step at a time. And I've always wondered how people who are ahead of me, how do I get there? And something that very fundamentally figured was, they're just not different. I mean, we can all be skill wise, all of these things can still be learned. But the
Mm-hmm.
fundamental difference between someone where I am today versus someone else's is they were more fearless than I was, or they are facing their fears, and I'm still stuck in that loop.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yes, I have moved forward in my life because I'm continuously looking, coming out of those fears, facing them, looking them, even knowing that they're here. I'm still choosing to move forward. I even today, I mean, when I lost my mom, I kept on, I showed up for every little podcast episode. I have, I have worked, I have done everything. I was doing the studio visit series. I had to show up on camera. And I did all of that, and nobody was holding me accountable. I'm not Oprah who would miss an episode and the world will know. I mean, of course, but I knew it was important to me. And I knew that if I give in to myself right now it may feel overwhelmed, but I knew if I just take this tiny effort, and I just had to take the tiny effort of just just feeling the fear, but even then moving forward and go till that point that where I could speak to someone. The moment I got into the conversation, I was like, yeah, I got through that. So I feel like those little experiences have taught me how to be fearless, and I am deeply committed to that path because I know I want to move forward, and that's how I'm going to move forward. And I figured that this is what I have to share. This is what um I have to share with others. I have to. There's there's no other way that I want to keep this to myself. And that's how the Fearless Creative Mastermind. It's a 5-week program for women creatives. And again, it's for women creators, people who associate themselves as creators, because I also feel like we as creators are very highly sensitive like people.
Mhm.
The intensity we feel our emotions and fears is way higher than someone on the other end. And I know how it feels. And in this 5-week program, my whole intention is, if you know if we create a safe space where we can come in with a goal of where we feel stuck, what are recognizing what's holding us right now, and in a non overwhelming, in small baby steps, how can we move forward.
Mhm.
And that is what the Fearless Creative Mastermind is.
Oh, that's amazing. I I have goosebumps. I think that it sounds awesome. And you have enrollment, and the enrollment ends when? March.
Yeah. So the enrollment ends on March 3rd, 2020.
Okay.
So anyone who's listening, if they want to be a part, they can go to www.arts2heartsproject.com. You'll see the link for the Fearless Creative Mastermind. We've kept it very affordable because, again, I want more and more women. I truly want women to be so fiercely fearless, and just there's nothing more wonderful than independent, fierce, kind women. I think
Mhm.
there's nothing more wonderful than that.
I agree. March 3rd, 2022. You said 2020. It's okay. Some
Oh, see, Vera,
I know.
I get in the
Well,
flow and then I forget.
I think part of us, it feels like it doesn't feel like
Yeah,
2020, but 2022.
yeah,
So
2022.
yeah, and I'm sure this is the first of many. You're probably going to be
Yeah,
doing this
absolutely.
again and again. And
I have
oh, it's going to be
one
wildly
teeny tiny step.
successful. Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. I think that's amazing. I think everybody should sign up because that
Yeah.
is an amazing opportunity. And I'm tempted.
Mhm.
The group with Celine, that was my first mastermind group. And I learned so much.
I
You're
love
right.
masterminds.
Everything
I
you
love
said about it
masterminds.
was 100% spot on. And the relationships that you build last beyond the group itself. You're going to meet
And
people.
I feel like the good thing is because I feel like masterminds and groups that come with a motive really help you move forward. Like, I've become this person, and again, you develop and you figure who you are. So I know that if I want to do something, I need a support system. I know how
Mhm.
that works for me now. So I wanted to work out regularly, and I wouldn't go to the gym, and I would never do it on my own. And I knew I needed an accountability for someone. So I knew I had to hire a trainer. Now, for the past 2 years, even when I've gone through the worst, I have woken up every day 5 in the morning and I've worked out.
Oh,
Even when I
wow.
was not sleeping, even it's it's like when you have something that holds you accountable, where people have similar goals or someone who's helping you achieve a goal, there's no way you can't do it. Even if we see the pep rally, I remember, I mean, I couldn't show up for a few meetings. I had work and or something. But even then I knew that I was a part of a group which was for a certain thing, and I felt accountable
Mm-hmm.
because I knew that 1 hour was dedicated for something like that. And that's why I wanted to do a mastermind, because I knew that I wanted to create that block of 1 2 hours for each one of us, where we really think what's holding, because what's holding us back, because I know my life has only changed when I figured what I'm afraid of, and how when I've really acted upon it in a positive way, like to break my fear into steps and do something. I was the shyest kid, believe me. I would never say things, like, be a part of conversation. And then I started taking teeny tiny steps, like I would ask a question, and then I ask another question, and then I ask another question, then I said on the camera, then I remember I started the studio visit series. I was so scared. The lives were so scary in the beginning. These fears come up. I was like, who's going to come and see a live on Instagram with me? We had a teeny tiny account. We were just starting out, and who am I to host like a who am I? I'm writing my book, and I'm like, who am I to write a book? And I'm like, all those things come up. And then once I started knowing that this is the fear that's holding me back, and I was like, okay, I don't care if nobody comes. I'm not doing this because I want people to join. I'm truly doing this because, let's say, I want to visit an artist in the studio, and I want to share this with people whoever want to join.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me feel better. And then I did one and two and two, three, and then I did 40 in a year, which was so amazing. I mean, I never thought I could do that. Even with the book, I thought, who wants to see another book? Who am I to write a book? And
I want to see
and
it
then one day,
right
and I
here.
was like, see, it's for you.
Yeah,
And I
I'm
remember,
there.
you're always there, I know. And I remember one day I was listening to this book. I listen to books a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And something really pinned me. And it was like, these people, these really old books, like I listen to a lot of self-development, and, I love neuro books, where how the mind works and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot, and success books and all. And there's very common thing, if you read a lot of these old books would address, and these are all American books, they address a creative or some as him, as a male. And I was like, I noticed this once and twice and thrice. And I was like, this is so wrong. How, why can a entrepreneur not be a woman? Why is he or she only addressing the listener as a man? And I found this pattern in all the books I was listening to. And I was like, you know what? I need to write a book because I want to
Mm-hmm.
address a woman.
Mm-hmm.
That became my biggest inspiration, and it gave me a motivation. And then the fear of who's going to and who am I, and my purpose became so strong. So, that's what this whole thing is about. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's so much more when we little lower that voice and increase, and when you have like people cheering for you, and you know that even if you do nothing, they're still going to be there. That's such a good safety net, just
Mm-hmm.
to feel just to feel good. We all deserve that love. I feel like we all do that.
Mm. Love that. Thank you for sharing. One thing I want to talk about is I have a lot of empathy for, I cannot imagine what it's like for you in India. Okay. I can't. I've read books and I've listened to things, and, I still can't imagine what it's like for you over there. And at the same time, I want you to know that some of this is here in the US too, and all over the world. The way women have to push through barriers that maybe men don't have to, or that they don't, period.
Absolutely.
And so I just want to tell you that, because the impact of the work that you're doing is huge in your area. Absolutely. I mean, you talked about being a small town girl. I'm also a small town girl, grew up
I
in
love
the
small town
country.
girls.
Yeah. I grew
Love
up
it.
watching Oprah, and my parents are not artists or interested in art. Now I think they are because I do it and I make it,
Yeah.
but it took a really long time for them to accept or understand kind of what I'm doing. But I just want you to know that your impact is tremendous where you're at, but it's also going to impact people everywhere, including the United States and other countries. And it's not just for the women in India, I guess. That's what I'm saying. So I think
Thank
it's
you.
important to acknowledge that what you're doing is, I'm so thankful for the internet. And even with 2020,
Yeah,
the things that
absolutely.
happened, we're all comfortable in the online space and can meet virtually. And, I don't know if half of us would know how to use Zoom and could conduct an interview.
That's true.
Well, I'm still learning Zoom apparently. So I did hit record today. So that's a positive. But
Yes.
um, so it's just amazing to be where we're at today and for you to have this voice and to be doing the work that you're doing. It's incredible. And I'm so excited to see what happens in the next year or two with you and what other things you create. Okay, I had to say that.
Thank you.
I am interested, Charuka. Now, as a creative person, I think we live very fascinating lives because we don't fit into the mold. We don't work for other people. It doesn't always work out. Some of us do, and that's totally fine. But I think as an outsider looking at an artist's life, we are fascinating creatures. And
Ah,
what does a typical day look like for you? You wake up at 5 a.m., which I aspire to be like that. I'm not quite there, but what does a typical day look like for you? And maybe every day is totally different because you're doing so many things.
yeah, actually, I think I feel like I'm at a point right now where I don't even know what my time and day looks like. And so, like I said, I was living alone for the past 10 years before the pandemic, in a bigger city. I was living in New Delhi and my hometown, which is a smaller city close by. I moved here. I've been here for the past 2 years now. Now everything's opened up, and I feel now I have to go back there because a lot of my work is there. And then I feel like in the last 2 years, a lot has happened with me and in our family and everything. And I needed time to feel back who I was and just you become, I mean, circumstances have make you someone in a certain way, which is great. I've learned so much, but I know I need to be back on my feet. So right now I'm living in between two cities. So I'm traveling from Delhi and Agra. And then I'm also managing Arts to Hearts in my studio practice, and I'm starting a couple of more projects. Thursdays, I know what I do on Thursdays. On Thursdays, I upload the Arts to Hearts podcast. I would either do that I would either do that on a Wednesday night or a Thursday morning. So that's how my Thursdays do. I'm recording a lot more content these days for the mastermind, the course, and everything on Thursdays. Um, Generally on Wednesdays, I have like studio visits. So I do the Instagram studio visits. Right now, I'm designing and writing a book, which is what also typically I do. But for me, now that I'm also having like a very diverse lifestyle, like in the sense of a day, I know what really my day needs to look like. I need to wake up in the morning early. I'm not doing that quite a bit for a few days now because everything's messed up. But I want to wake up 5, 6:30 last. I want to work out. That's something that's very important to me now. I want to journal. I want to I and I love to open my day with affirmations, and I know I need to sleep. Like I would skip a few days in between because I need to break that pattern, but I
Mhm,
need to sleep to like a manifestation or like a meditation, something like that. And I
mhm,
know like if I don't have the morning to myself, it's not a day. It's not a day for me. And if I'm at home, I need to spend some time in the sun and be with my dogs. I That's like one of the core things that no matter where in the on earth I am, even if I'm not at home, I would just look. The first thing I would do after doing everything, I would open my phone and see the camera and where my dogs are.
Hmm.
That's how, like, that's fundamentally, if I have this structure, then typically I would spend um 2 days, 3 days maximum in the studio in small bits now, because I'm doing so many things. And then I would design, then I have calls with Arts to Hearts for people working, and then I have recordings and interviews and calls. So everything packed into that. And I'm honestly, I'm someone who loves structure. Like, I need to have certain structure in my life, but I need to be really fluid. Like, if I
Hmm.
don't want to do something today, like, I know I need to show up for calls and recordings and everything on camera, and I can't skip that, and I wouldn't skip that. I'm very particular about that. But I know if I don't feel like, I don't want to go to the studio today, or I don't want to do something, I wouldn't, because like I need to have that much fluidity in my life that I can do something if I don't do something if I don't feel like, but also have a structure where I know what I'm meant to do on a certain time.
Hmm.
I don't know how that makes,
No, that
if that
helps.
makes.
Yes, I think, okay, somebody that has multiple different types of things that they do, multi-passionate entrepreneur. I am fascinated by how the schedule works for people. Some people have to create something or paint every day. And some people, I go through seasons where I feel like I have to do that. And then other times it's like, well, this week I'm focusing on the computer work or the
Yeah.
CEO work or whatever. And then the next week I might be in my studio even more. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just, you have to be flexible though, right? Yeah, you have to,
Whatever works for you.
yeah, whatever
That's
works for you.
important.
And you can always change it up, right?
I am someone, I would do certain things for like a certain period of time, a month to 6 months. And I know I will exhaust myself and I need to switch things up. So I
Yeah.
know I would need to switch things up and I would change. Let's say if I'm doing a workout, which is weights, then I would know I don't want to do this. So I want to do boxing, or like I want to do yoga, or like something like, I know I want, like, it's in my mind works in such a weird way. Like, I know I don't want like a massive change, but I need to switch things up. Like,
Hmm.
again, to make it a little bit interesting, I love to be a learner. Like, I love learning. I really love that.
Hmm.
So every day if I wake up, like when I become good at something, I become like, it gets boring for me.
Yeah.
So now I feel like, I want to do something, and I want to feel that tiny spot again and feel bad, and like I want to put myself through that misery. But I love that excitement. That
Yeah.
it's my excitement when you do something like, for the first time, and like, oh, I did it, and like, that. So I love that. I want to keep that in my life, in
Mhm.
anything I do.
I love that. Lifetime learner. That's so cool. Okay. You have a new studio and it's beautiful.
Thank
I've
you.
been enjoying all the videos and the pictures in your Instagram feed. Is your studio close to where you live, or is it more of a commute?
In a smaller town, everything's close by,
Oh,
but in but in a sense of, let's say, a smaller town vocab, it's not away, but it's a 5, 7, 10 minutes ride.
okay.
So I mean, you can't walk through it, but if you drive through it, so it's close by. um it's in Agra. I mean, as much as I love my studio, I don't know how things are going to pan out now. I'm going to live in two cities. I'm going to still keep the studio and create a smaller studio in my apartment in Delhi, and then be there. But that studio has been such a life savior, because I was going through such a hard time, and I need like a personal space. I've been someone who's lived alone for so long, and in India, you live in, like, we tend to live in joint families, and there are a lot of people in the house. And then as a creative, I feel we all need a lot more space, and I need space, mental space, just
Mm-hmm.
not physical space. I need to know that there's nobody around me, and I just can be myself, even if that means I'm sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And even at that point, even when my mom was here, we would have kids in the house and so much, I would literally wouldn't get time to sleep and be myself. And I feel like when I'm sleeping, I'm also working, because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my creative thoughts
Mm-hmm.
happen that time. So
Mm-hmm.
I would literally go in. I used to have a very tiny studio at that point. I would go in, I would open up a blanket, put up a pillow, and then I would sleep there. And it's just the comfort of having like a creative home, like a creative space.
Mm-hmm.
It's so essential for me.
Yeah. I love studio nap. It's magic.
Me too.
I
Haven't
do.
had that for a long while.
I
I
know,
need to do
right?
that
So
again.
much going on. Okay,
Yeah.
I have some rapid fire questions I'd like to ask you
Oh
that I ask
wow.
everybody. It's just for fun.
Yes,
We just want to get to
yes.
know
I love rapid
more.
fire.
We want to learn more
I
about
love
you.
rapid fire.
Okay, top of
Yeah.
mind. So first thing that you think of when I ask you, no right, no wrong, and there are no dumb questions, no wrong answers. I don't know. Okay, first off, what is your favorite color?
Black.
Black is your favorite color?
Yeah.
Ooh.
You wanna know why? A lot of people ask me this.
Yeah, it's for sure your black.
What I
It's your
love.
favorite color of all time ever, forever and ever? Or is like right now it's your favorite color?
No, it's I love black. I feel like I have a very emotional attachment to black because I feel like it's such a strong color. It's very like it gives away, but it also conceals a lot. So I with black as a person also, I feel like I am I'm saying something, but it's very mysterious. It makes me feel protective in the sense that I'm not giving too much away of who I am, but I'm
Mhm.
still giving away something. So no matter, I would have so many favorites here and there. Like I would love all those colors. But black has been something I was always I look back to my work a lot of times. It's been one consistent thing that's it
Mhm.
just makes me feel so empowered and strong.
Mhm.
And it also makes me feel like I'm just doing what makes like I'm making a statement, but I'm not giving away too much. That makes me vulnerable. So it's a very strong, like, I don't know, I have that emotional attachment.
Oh, that is mysterious. I love it. You know, black is the presence of all color, isn't that? I learned
Yeah,
that
yeah.
somewhere. Okay. Yeah, if you put all the
See?
colors together, it's like having it all.
And it's a
And it's so
little
strong.
bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. I love that. I don't know if I've ever met anyone that liked black the most. That's so cool. I think that's awesome. Okay, Taruka, so here in America, people get a lot of ideas while they're taking a shower. They're in the shower washing their hair, and that's where they get inspiration. For me, that doesn't happen. I don't think I've had coffee yet and I'm not awake. I get inspiration, for instance, when I'm driving in my car without my family, just me in the car driving around. So, where does inspiration strike for you?
Wow, this is such a hard question. I don't know. I mean, I feel like inspiration is most when I'm not looking for. And I think maybe inspiration is for me is an experimentation. I feel when I just let go of my fears and just do where my heart takes me. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like as in my own journey of becoming like with the whole baggage of becoming a professional in anything that you do, like you let go of your intuition more and do things that are expected out of you. And I feel like that's where I don't find inspiration. The more I listen to the voice that's within me and I
Mm-hmm.
do that, the more inspired and I know I'm going to create something. I don't matter how serious that work is or like whatever. I know I'm moving. And I feel like just that intuition, that letting go of those voices and just listening to the inner voice that keeps guiding, okay, just keep going. I think that's and I think experiences, my own experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like anything I drive, I need to feel very personally about. I'm someone who feels personally about things very deeply and personally. And again, for that, it needs to be an experience that I need to experience myself first.
Oh, that's good. Do you start your pieces with experimenting? Do they all start as an experiment or do you have things
My
planned
practice
out?
is an experiment.
Yeah. So it's not like I'm going to draw this tiger and then I'm going to paint it in.
No, I've never
No?
had an idea of how I'm going to work around it. And that's why I feel like I'm going left and sometimes I take a right and then some accident happens. And
Mm-hmm.
like I wasn't embellishing my work 2.5 years ago. It just happened. It
Mm,
happened. And it could have happened so much earlier because that was what I was doing exactly. I was a fashion designer. I've been working with embellishments. I grew up in embellishments, everything. It just made sense. But you know what I did? I listened to my fears, and I wanted to fit in, and I wanted to not be enough artist or more artist and like all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just more stupid. And I was like, you know what? The moment I listen to who I am and my own voice, that's when I feel the most.
Mm-hmm.
That's when things, even if the things are not moving, I know at least I'm happy. A lot of times when you start fitting in and the needle doesn't move and you're also unhappy. So at
Mm-hmm.
least I would rather be happy and let the needle not move. But I've been grateful. My work's really done well since then. And I just feel like that's very important.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. I love that so much. Yes. All right. Okay. I know you said you listen to a lot of books, you read a lot of books. Is there
Listen, I can't
listen?
read books.
Okay. Is there a book or a movie mentioned that I know? Is there something you think that you need, like
Yeah,
something you want to,
top favorite.
yeah.
I love I love Big Magic.
Oh, yes.
Elizabeth Gilbert. It's a book
Mm-hmm.
I really love. I listen to it at least twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
I think one in the beginning, one in the middle, one at the end. I know that I need this. In the beginning, I need motivation. I lose momentum and I would listen it. And then I want to close my ear and I would listen it. It's been for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm.
Another book that I really love is The Creative Habit by Twyla Thorpe. I
Mm.
love that book. I love Twyla Thorpe. I mean, she's just so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a wonderful work.
Mm-hmm.
Another book that I really like right now is Art and Fear.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's that's also a
Mm-hmm.
really nice book. And another which is like a book journal by Julia Cameron.
Mm-hmm. The Artist
Oh,
Way.
The Artist Way. This is
Yes.
something I haven't got through the book ever. Believe
Mm-hmm.
me, I've never done the entire
I haven't
6 week,
either.
like the whole thing, 12 weeks. But every time, even if I would do a couple of weeks, I know my morning pages stuck for so long because of Julia Cameron. I
Mm-hmm.
started with that book. It's been life changing. So a lot of things that these books, I feel like they are heirlooms that you need to keep to yourself. Like they need to be passed down to every generation, every person. I have given all these books to my boyfriend. He's an entrepreneur. He's far away from the art world, creative world. He's like
Mm-hmm.
in the typical business world. And I made him do the Julia Cameron book. And I was like, just because I always tell him, see yourself as an artist. What I and he we both agree to this. We both do the same thing. Just he tells me how to treat myself as like as a business, or and I learn so much from that. And I tell him, like, how he needs to, like, for me, I follow my heart. And I
Mm-hmm.
keep telling him how as a creator he needs to keep following that voice. And I learn how from him how to find a balance between my heart and other things in
Yeah.
life. And these books are, no matter if you're a creative, you love whatever, you're a mother, anything that you do, I think these
Mm-hmm.
books, they're just meant for people. They're just
Mm-hmm.
meant to bring more goodness in the world.
I agree. I haven't read The Creative Habit, but I've read the other ones. Big Magic is
Such a
so
beautiful
good.
book.
Oh,
So good.
okay. This is a detour from that last question. Is there an art form or a sport that you admired and you wish you were good at it? Like, we're not all good at everything, right? So my hope is that I have
Absolutely.
sporty people listening about art, and then, like, I'm not a sports person, but I wish I were anyway.
Uh, I've always had interest in like music, never tried dance.
Mm,
Did try. My mom always wanted me to be a dancer for some reason. Mm, Too shy for that, I think. I always wanted to be athletic, but I've never been that. But honestly, if you ask me, I from the core of my soul believe that there's nothing that you can't do. I know that if I set my mind to something, I mean, I believe there's something called like, I don't know, luck. I don't even think I believe in that. I just believe if if we keep consistently doing something, if today I know I want to be an athletic person, or like a,
Mm-hmm.
and if I keep practicing, I'm going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that you need to have that deep passion for something. Maybe someday someday I want to learn like sing, because I feel like it's another form of very powerful expression, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe dance. I don't know.
Okay. Ooh, good. I love that.
More
Yes.
singing, I think, now that I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, you would be a great singer. I bet you have a great voice. All right, Charuka, what's your studio beverage of choice? What do you like to drink when
Chai,
you're in the studio? Chai? Oh, yeah.
tea,
Tea? Do you
chai,
add
always.
stuff to it, or is it the herbs, or do you add like almond milk or cream or anything
No,
to it?
no, nothing fancy. I just like a chai with ginger and no sugar. And just, I never used to drink tea initially, but I feel like I somehow, when I came back home, I got a hang of it. And now when I feel like stressed, I just need a cup of chai. And I feel like chai is such a stress reliever. And
Mhm.
in India, it's like the drink. It's like whenever you go to
Mhm.
someone's house, they'll serve you chai. If it's like a conversation breaker. It's like
Mhm.
you
It's like
we have these
coffee.
like small, it's yeah, chai is the coffee of India. Yeah. But I
Okay.
love coffee too.
Okay. You know what surprises me? I don't know how many artists I've interviewed, a handful now, and I thought everyone would say coffee, but I think maybe one person said coffee. A lot of tea drinkers. Celine also
Yeah,
loves chai. Did you know that?
really? Oh
Mm.
no, I have
Yeah.
to catch on that.
Yeah, I know. She said that if she goes to Starbucks, I think she gets chai. All right. This is a perfect question to ask you of all people. What is a creative challenge or advice that you can give our listeners? You can,
Hmm.
it's a challenge or you can give a piece of advice or both.
I think challenge is another challenge for me. Let's take that. I love challenges. Um, I think my challenge is, I wish someone has had given me that. I feel like if anytime, you feeling stuck in a loop, a lot of times we feel stuck in a loop. I feel stuck in a loop so many times. And we feel like we are not doing something, or like someone is moving forward and you feel like there's something missing. um I feel like you just ask yourself at that point that, what's holding you back. Once you recognize what's really holding you back, I think we all have so much more potential than we know.
Mhm.
Sometimes more than often we underestimate ourselves. We build a narrative in our mind. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, that's not for me. Oh, she's got it but I didn't have it. All of these things, not I mean, they're just narratives we build for ourselves. Truly something, you need to ask yourself, is it something that you really believe in, or it's something that someone else made you believe in, or there's a fear that's behind that, that's putting that in your mind. Even if I feel like, for a fearless life, I feel we all should live a fearless life. Just pick up one little small, my challenge for you is, like, let me even break this further. Just pick up one small challenge. Like, let's say if you're afraid of work, I used to have this. If you're afraid of working out, you feel like you're not, don't think of the bigger goal. Just put yourself through a challenge that you are going to show up tomorrow. Put an alarm, get up tomorrow, and just set yourself first that. Just challenge yourself to do something that makes you teeny tiny bit of uncomfortable. Teeny tiny, teeny, not too much, just a little discomfort, and just do that. And then you will see that the progress that you'll feel and the momentum it gets you going. And it's just, I just feel like, for in so many parts of our lives, personal, professional, anything, we, even if we just keep giving ourselves the challenge of doing one thing in a day that makes us feel uncomfortable, in the grander scheme of things, we are growing way much more than we think we are.
Mhm.
I don't
Yes.
know if that was a challenge. I
No,
don't
that
know.
is great. That's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, Charuka, we talked about your mastermind coming up. And okay, so we're going to have all the links, right? You're on Instagram, you have a website, you have maybe
Yeah.
2 websites. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Okay, well,
Yeah.
all the links and how to find you. How can we support you? What are some ways that my audience can support you aside from finding you on Instagram and liking your page? What can we do?
Perfect. Yes. Now, as for my own art practice and what I create, you can bring a little piece of small town India, arts and crafts of India to your home. I have been thinking of releasing prints for a very long time because
Mhm.
I never grew up having access to like art.
Mhm.
And even today in India, art is still something that people with only wealth want to invest in. So I still want to make sure that I do my bit where people from whoever is who's never bought a piece of art, for me that's very special. I know I bought my first and that special feeling. So I've been thinking of doing prints. So
Mhm.
either if you want to buy like a full-fledged hand embellished piece, my original pieces are on my website, or you can always my website at www.charukaarora.com, or you can go to Instagram, reach me, I'm always available. And you can also, if that's not something that you're interested in, I'm also doing limited edition prints, which will be prints of my 3D work. And it's like a, I don't know, it's like, for me my art is like pieces of India that I want to send all over the world. It's
Mhm.
like the warmth of India I want to send all over the world. So that's you can bring your to your home. The other thing is that if you're a creative in any form of shape, and if you're a woman, you can visit www.arts2heartsproject.com. We've started the Fearless Mastermind that I spoke about. The application closes on 3rd of March 2022. We have it's again a mastermind for 5 weeks for creative women who come with a goal to get over something that's holding them back right now, and that can give them momentum to get like take that leap. Like I remember when I wanted to start a podcast, a mastermind helped me so much. If you have a goal that you want to and you feel like you're still holding yourself back, then this mastermind definitely is for you. We have opportunities. We have new call for art that's being curated by a guest curator. And then we have the podcast. Every Thursday I interview an international women artist on Arts to Hearts podcast, available everywhere, Spotify, iTunes, and all of that. And I also do solo episodes on Mondays, twice a month. So yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, I've been doing a lot more content on Arts to Hearts project Instagram, trying to share who I am more. But yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's amazing.
I know.
Oh, I'm so in awe of you, Charuka, and you, man, I just can't wait to see
Uh,
what happens the rest of this year. And I know that this is only the beginning for you. I'm so honored to have the chance to interview you on my podcast and to share you and your mission and your work with my audience. I know everyone got some amazing things from listening to everything that you said. And yeah, thank you so much for
Thank
this, for
you,
your
Sarah.
time, for your
Thank you so much.
generosity, for everything. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much for having me. I truly want to say a big thank you. And I remember, I mean, I'm so proud of you. I've seen you think about this, learn this, and now nail at this. So I can't even tell you how happy it makes me to see you doing this, to see you like a pro at this. I mean, I just can't even put in words how happy that makes me. And I only know that this is only going to get bigger and better for you. I have so much more faith in that.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And side note, you were supposed to be my first guest on the
I
podcast,
remember.
but I couldn't figure out, I am not a high tech person. I'm not a technology.
Look,
I struggle with
again, let's
technology.
reframe that.
Yes.
Let's reframe that thought. You half of a lot of people wouldn't even be able to come this far today if you ask them to. You are recording this interview, you're going to get this edited, then you're going to upload it on your platforms, distribute it, promote it. Listen, if you are not friendly, then who is?
Yeah. Are you right? I'm reframing it. I'm learning so much about technology and I'm only getting better at it every day. But that was day one.
You keep doing. Yeah.
And you were so nice
You
about
just,
it.
no, absolutely. I was more than happy to be then. And I'm even more because I think it was meant to be. I just feel
Mhm.
like it gives me so much more joy to see you more. Like I seen you then and I know I've seen you now. And I feel like there's, see, we just take one teeny tiny step and look at where you are today.
Absolutely. It's all about
So
the
good.
little steps. It's all about the tiny steps towards the
Absolutely.
goal. So,
One tiny, teeny tiny fearless step. Or even
yes.
a little bit of a faith.
Oh,
Just one tiny step.
thank you so much. I could talk to you for hours. You're going to have to come back on the
Same
podcast.
here.
We'll have to have a reunion
Absolutely.
sometime. So,
Absolutely.
thank you so much, Charuka. Oh my goodness. And thanks everyone for listening. And definitely go check out everything Charuka Arora and Arts to Hearts project, because she is definitely somebody that you need to know and get to know her community and all of the amazing things. Definitely check out her podcast and all of the things. So thank you again so much, Charuka. I
Thank
hope you have
you.
a great night. I know it's late where you're at. So I hope you have a
Yeah.
great night of sleep and we'll
Have a
be in
good
touch.
day.
Yes.
Yes, I'll see you soon.
You too. Thank you so much. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.